common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
John Fund, this is amazing. If you sort of look at the landscape, and of course you think about elections in the past, there are many stories out today how election results on November 5th may be delayed across the country because of different sort of state rules, litigation, all this stuff. Explain what could be on the horizon.
Well, it's not just may be delayed, they will be delayed. Because remember, 2020 represented a watershed in our elections. Before 2020, the highest percentage of votes that were cast early or by mail was about 22%. It went to 60% in 2020 because of COVID. It'll probably hover between 40 and 50% this time. A big chunk of that, probably 30% of the total vote, will be mail-in votes. Mail-in votes, of course, have problems. The first is they rely on the post office. And we've had two primaries this year, one in Utah and one in Kansas, where 2% of the ballots didn't come back in time because of post office incompetence, or they were lost completely. Many elections are decided by less than 2%, and the National Association of Secretaries of State, which is bipartisan, half Democrat, half Republican, has sent a warning letter to the post office saying our elections may be in jeopardy because we won't know who wins because we may not get all the ballots back. That's just the first problem.
And then what are the second and third? Because first of all, like you said, first getting the ballots, and then in different states, I mean, there's so much early voting this time. It's like an election year versus election day or election week.
Well, early voting is less of a problem than mail-in voting because early voting means you go to a government office like a county courthouse or a library and you vote there, and that's less of a problem. But the mail-in voting, here's the problem. A lot of states say, well, you can mail in your vote, and as long as it arrives or has a postmark of Election Day, we'll count it. Well, if you mail your ballot on Election Day, it could take 3, 4, 5, 6 days to arrive, and that's a problem. Then, of course, you have the overseas voting. Democrats are going to spend over $10 million getting overseas voters to vote. And here's the problem. In several states, the local secretaries of state have said, if we get an overseas absentee ballot, we're not going to conduct any verification steps on it. So any ballot that comes back to us from overseas, we're just going to count it. And then that's the second and third problem. Then the fourth problem is there are all kinds of problems about when you count the votes, how long it takes to count the votes, and of course then you get to go to court if there are any disputes. And I'll make a bet. If the polls are anywhere accurate that we're going to be as close as 1 or 2% of the popular vote, we will not know the election winner on election night. We won't know it the day after. In fact, remember in 2020, we didn't know until Friday that Joe Biden was going to take the lead. So I'm predicting not election day, but election month.
Wow.
2020, only worse.
Wow. Well, John Fund, thank you so much for joining us. Boy, do we appreciate it. Thank you. Such an important thing.
You can read all about this in my book, Our Broken Elections, which you can get on Amazon.
Awesome. Our Broken Elections, sadly, an appropriate title given the sign of the times. John, thank you so much for joining us. We love having you on, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you very much.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit, or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.